Welcome to Stargate SG-1 for the first time, still not a Star Trek podcast. My name is Jeff Akin, and I'm watching Stargate SG-1 for the first time.
And I'm Brent Allen, and I'm watching Stargate SG-1 for the 47th time. Jeff and I are two veteran Star Trek podcasters who have joined forces to bring you a show called Babylon 5 for the first time, and we had so much fun doing that show. We said, let's do it again with a completely different show that, honestly, a lot of you guys out there said, we want to watch that one too.
So whether this is your first time or your 47th time through the gate, we invite you to come along with us as we give SG-1 that for the first time treatment. For me, since this is my first time watching this, I'm just going to be watching, experiencing the show as it unfolds, and I'm going to bring all of you with me to relive your first viewing experience as well.
And you know what, Jeff? I'm going to be doing, this is actually something I did both for the first time, but also for Beam Me Up, my other show. I'm doing the Beam Me Up for the first time treatment on my side. I'm watching the show for the 47th time, but for the first time, I'm intentionally watching for what we call those Star Trek-like messages, those sci-fi messages, where they kind of pop up through the show, you know, things that hold up a mirror to society and kind of slap us in the face a little bit, things that give us hope that things are going to be better in the future, or maybe just even show us how to be better humans to each other.
And since this, Brent, it's not a Star Trek podcast, we're importing from Babylon 5 for the first time, the game that everybody loves, the Rule of Three. This game limits us to no more than 3 references to Star Trek per episode.
That's it. 3. Uno, dos, tres. No substitutions, exchanges, every.
And Jeff, do you know why people love this game so much?
I do know why. They love when we make those references and they hear this sound. They really do. It's great.
It's so pleasing to everybody's ears is what it is.
We get a substantial amount of feedback through multiple channels.
Well, guys, along with the Rule of Three, we are expanding that particular game. Anytime we make a Babylon 5 reference, you're actually going to hear this sound.
Oh, yes.
And those will be unlimited.
All right. I'm excited to get into this episode. This is Cold Lazarus. And I really like, in thinking about it over the week, I figured this was going to be like going to an ice planet. They're going to find someone who's dead and frozen. It's really Frozen Caveman Lawyer through the gate is what it's going to be. So we'll find out how close or far away I am. What cool facts have you got for me on this one?
Well, nothing super huge. This is the 7th episode, original air date, August 29th, 1997. Jeff, I do have to ask before we go into this though, what do you still right now, as we record this, have not seen the original movie, at least not in 30 some odd years.
Yeah. It's been a very long time.
Yeah. Okay. What do you remember about the character of Jack O'Neill, maybe that either you watched or that I have told you from the movie? Like, who was Jack O'Neill? Who was he when we first met him? What's his story? What's his deal?
So Kurt Russell, right, played him much more stiff, kind of stoic in his portrayal.
Yep.
His son, didn't he die from O'Neill's gun? Like he was playing with the gun or something?
And that's why he was all stiff. Like he was in the movie, he was rather suicidal.
Okay.
He was supposedly, you remember, and they touched on this a lot in the pilot episode of SG-1. He was supposed to blow up a bomb on the other side. Specifically, he was staying behind. It was a suicide mission for O'Neill.
Yeah. Okay.
And thanks to Daniel Jackson and Skara, if you remember Skara, like thanks to the kids on Abydos and Daniel Jackson, it kind of pulled O'Neill back from the brink, and he wound up going home, obviously, and they blew up Raw's ship with the bomb.
Okay.
And then here we find ourselves. So I just want you to keep what you know of O'Neill in mind as we go through this episode.
Okay.
And I would just say, hey, and grab some popcorn and make this as light as you possibly can.
I'm a little nervous about this.
You should be, Jeff. You should be. Have you had a good day?
It's been a day. You said a couple things, and I want to take care. Well, we need to take care of ourselves, right? That's always important. But I also want to take care of the people watching or listening to this. Should we kind of give an activation trigger warning around suicide?
That you know what? No.
Okay.
No, it's not that. That's not where we're going. However, Jeff, can you mute me on your side? Like, can you mute me from? Yeah, there you go. So hey, listen, if you guys are watching this, you haven't seen this show in a while, or maybe you've never seen this one. This one deals with the traumatic fallout of what happens when a parent loses a child, and they feel their own personal guilt. So just so you guys know, that is where the territory where this episode's going into. Take care of yourselves. If maybe this is one you should wait for next week to jump into us. So, but that being said, Jeff, I'll certify you as being okay, and if not, then we'll catch you
right okay.
as it goes through. Hey, listen, what we're about to do is Jeff and I are going to watch this episode for the first time right now. We're going to get into it. We're going to do this will be like our reaction. This is like podcast / reaction video all mushed together, mixed up. So that's what we're doing. And if you would like to see the full unedited reaction, head over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/Babylon5 first, because that's where we're funneling everything through right now.
Even if that's changed, it'll be linked down below because we don't know what we're doing with our branding yet. So, well, if you're listening to the audio version of this on a podcasting app like Good Pods or iTunes, Spotify, any of those good things, I'd mentioned Stitcher and Google, but apparently all the other apps are going out of business at the time that we record this thing. But make sure that you stick around for this, because what's going to happen is you're not going to join us for the episode. We're just going to skip ahead and you're going to hear us talk about the episodes. There's going to be this weird little break, and then you'll be like, oh my gosh, that was such a great episode. If you want to check it out, right, go to our YouTube, head to our Patreon and see what it is. And when we come back, I'm going to share my first time reaction to this, and Brent is going to lay on us any of those sci-fi messages that he happened to pick up. So what do you say we start this bad boy?
Chevron 7 locked.
All right, Jeff, we are back, having just watched. I mean, we finished 30 seconds ago. Cold Lazarus. I warned you ahead of time that this was an emotional episode. Talk to us about it. What are your kind of immediate reactions having seen this episode now?
We've known these people, 6? This is our 6th episode we've watched.
7 if you count the first one twice.
In this many episodes, they've let us create this relationship with the characters where we got to laugh a little bit. Teal'c, and kind of is like, oh, haha, they're gonna watch rock music and all the horrible news. I mean, we probably weren't supposed to laugh at it, but you can look at it and it's kind of a trope, of how horrible our world is, and we can laugh with that. We can feel excited as Daniel and Sam are discovering, the what these crystals are and finding new life. But more than that, like in seconds, I knew that wasn't Jack that came through. I picked up on that.
Yep.
And then to walk us through his loss and his trauma in that way, if that was just, we're going to tell this story with a side character, guest star that we brought on, it'd be touching or whatever, but like, that was deep. They did such a great job in taking us on an emotional ride for Jack to start processing his trauma. My first big note that I made. So fake Jack, energy Jack, goes to his ex-wife's house. I'm guessing used to be their house because it's still got Charlie's room. And he's looking through the stuff and he's starting to relive these memories or experience these memories. And he's watching and he's acknowledging the emotions behind it, processing those in his own way and showing them in his own way. And what I thought of, I've never done what I'm about to talk about, but I've heard about it and I don't know, studied it more than I guess some people, but there's a lot of, and you and I were actually talking about this ironically before we came on, but psychotropic therapy, right? Using using psilocybin or ayahuasca, MDMA, things like that to help process through traumatic events. And this felt like that, because what I understand is in those experiences, it allows you to re-enter your memory of that trauma, that experience, but separated from the emotion. So you can observe it emotionally, pick up on more stuff, and then you can come out of that and through psychotherapy and talk therapy, work through to resolve it. And I felt like that's what was happening for Jack and for us, right? Like we had this opportunity to observe what happened we weren't connected, right? It was just, we're observing what happened. We acknowledge the emotion tied to it, but we didn't necessarily, just like Energy Jack, we didn't feel or process that emotion.
Right.
And what that led to that I just loved was this vulnerable, honest communication between fake Jack and his ex-wife, Sarah, where he's just going through what happened, not having actually experienced it firsthand, and they're having a healing conversation around this. They're intimately connecting their vulnerable selves and saying the things they should have said in a perfect world as they were processing through this. They shared real emotion. I love that this episode, this show, was able to take the construct that it has created, the lore, the science, the whatever, and in like the 6th or 7th episode, hand us this just effing heavy, deep episode that hits so hard. Get a Star Trek reference in here. Energy Jack tells real Jack that his son Charlie is still there in him, right, in his heart.
Yeah.
And he's telling him as he does this, you were hurt. I hurt you, and I wanted to heal what I hurt. But in touching you, I found that your real pain was in the past. You couldn't exist here because you were existing there.
Yep.
That is not linear. It's totally Cisco and Jennifer, right? When the prophets are just like, you're not here, you're back here. And that's how trauma works, right? We live in that. And we weren't so as keen on that back in 97. This episode did a beautiful job of showing that. My last thought on this big piece, it's huge. Energy Jack says, Charlie's still here. He's inside you. Brent, I've never shared what I'm about to share with anybody outside my therapist before, but I think it's appropriate right now. And I feel safe here with thousands of people hearing it. But I'm experiencing some mental health issues. Not too long ago, I was in a bit of a crisis, and I was having suicidal ideations as part of that. Asking myself questions, right? Like, what does it even matter? People die all the time and life goes on. Does it even matter? What are we doing here? What's the point? I was having a really hard time, as you do when you're in that place where you're thinking that it's not logical. It's not reasonable. And I was trying to apply reason to it, and I was just making it worse. My birthday came by, and my wife got me perfect birthday present. She didn't know it. She didn't know how perfect it was. I mean, she did at the surface level, but what it showed me was what came out here. So what she got me were, and it's awesome. I'm wearing my Neil Peart shirt right now, the drummer from Rush. She got me a pair of drumsticks that were autographed by him, and they're certified and the whole thing. He died back in 2020, stopped touring back in 2015, but my hero, right? Like so much. It was just like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. This is the perfect present. And I remember having a moment where I think I was actually taking a shower at the time. And I had this realization that this is why living is important, because he did a thing. He signed this back in 2015. So he did a thing 8-9 years ago that now, in a time where he is gone and has been gone for a long time, in that moment, he, through my wife, was able to show me the value of life because he impacted me after he was gone. He's gone, but he was still here, right? Like there was this moment of connection that shined a light for me. And I had this realization that we don't only live for ourselves, but we live for the people around us and the people we don't even know.
There you go. Yeah.
That we're influencing for these things. And when Energy Jack said that, Charlie's still here. He's here, right? And he's putting his hand on his chest. Like that's what it showed me. Charlie died, and it was tragic. and it was horrible. And this is a thing that happens to this day, right? This playing with his dad's gun, right? Because I mean, what young boy didn't want to do that, you know?
Yep.
And the worst thing possible happened, and they've blamed themselves, and it's awful. But his life has that spark that lives on in Jack and Sarah, others. Heck, in that moment, like, I mean, he impacted a whole bunch of people.
His grandpa.
That was awesome too. I mean, I loved how Energy Jack went in and was talking about Charlie in the present tense. You know, I need to find him. I need to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And the father-in-law, right, Grandpa, didn't miss a beat. He's like, yeah, he is still, you know, yep, I can almost hear him laughing at my stupid joke. You know, and that whole thing that when they're gone, they're still there. There's stuff about this episode that's within the lore of Stargate that's cool. It's interesting. The Tilk stuff, wanting to see the world, is neat. The concept of these crystals and the energy and the lives being there is interesting. This is I think this is like the first truly alien species we've seen. But Brent, the reason this episode is never going to leave me is like it validated for me what I have learned is one of the strongest values of life.
So Jeff, I'm supposed to come in here and discuss what does this show talk about? What does this show mean? What is the message of the show? You just did it. This is a 5 chevron show. This is a 5 chevron episode all the way through. I rate these on a scale of 0 to 5 chevrons based on how strong the message is. This message is replete from beginning to end. Take whatever message you want out of this. How do you deal with guilt? And I really don't want to say the phrase move on.
Yeah.
I don't know, especially when dealing with trauma and stuff like that you ever move on. But to pull the Star Trek reference and right off of yours, but how do you live not there anymore?
Yeah.
But how do you carry that with you? I have criticized this show, not this episode, but I mean this show, Stargate SG-1, twice now for presenting a great idea, but then not doing anything with it through the rest of the episode. Here, I felt like they presented a very poignant topic and they didn't talk about it, but they just showed us. There is no argument to present here. There's no like, okay, here's this one side of it over here and here's this other side of it over there, as is with most topics. This is just the fallout of what's going on. Energy Jack, his whole thing, I loved it. He said, I hurt you, and then I went to heal you, and when I did that, I looked in your mind, and I saw that you were a warrior. I've honestly never picked up on this until watching it right now. He said, I saw you were a warrior, and I was afraid.
Mm-hmm.
But nevertheless, I tried to heal you from where I had hurt you. Like, I'm afraid of you because look what's happened the last time the Gould were here. I saw Warrior. I'm afraid, but I'm going to try to heal you. And what I realized when I looked inside your mind was it wasn't your physical pain. Your deepest pain was this other thing. So I thought maybe I could heal that. Why is Energy Jack doing this whole thing? So that he can, not that he can just heal Jack, but he can heal Jack so that they don't have to be afraid anymore. The crystal people, whatever's left of the crystal folk, they don't have to be afraid, or they can win a friend. You know, like even to this guy who, you know, the crystalline people themselves, let's talk about them. They have experienced their own trauma. Let's set Jack's piece aside. They're living their lives. They're doing their thing. The Gould come in and shoot them all to hell.
Basically genocide them.
Exactly. Now, did they realize that they were a life form back then? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Like really bad trauma. This crystalline folk, like they're living out of fear when Sam and Daniel and them are talking to the blue crystal. I'm like, well, why didn't you talk to us before? And they said, because we were scared. Fear. What is amazing is when this energy being, when he acts in spite of his fear, not because of it, you know, it's amazing what can happen. Now, Jeff, on a production level, on a real world type situation, obviously the character of Jack O'Neill dealing with the fallout of his son, how do you go from stoic, whatever kind of Jack, to snarky, humor filled, you know, guy?
Right.
They needed an episode where Jack was able to deal with that so he could move on and this sort of really filled that purpose in the overall narrative. The overall story was This is Jack finally getting a chance to deal with, what happened to his kid, so that Richard Dean Anderson can take the character and go with it wherever he wants to, because this piece is now done. Like that's a little bit of the piece there. But I mean, his wife, I found another, just his wife says, listen, when Charlie killed himself accidentally, when that happened, you didn't talk to me. You pulled away from me. I needed you to come in and say, Jeff, to what you just said a second ago, that other people need us. It does, Matt. Jeff, I'm so glad you never acted on that, because we need you. We need Jeff Akin's voice. I need Jeff Akin in my life. You know what I mean? Like my life has been so much more fun and has been so enriched by your presence in my life, my friend. I'm speaking to you, not to them out there. I'm speaking to you. My life. Now I can't speak for everybody else, but I can just speak from my own personal experience. My life has been enhanced by you and continues to be enhanced by you. And I'm so glad that you're here, but he pulled away, and in pulling away, it wound up destroying not just his son, but his relationship then with his wife. What I loved though was when the chips were down, when there was an emergency happening and we saw real Jack running through the hospital and he sees Sarah for the first time. And this is real Jack and real Sarah. And he's like, are you okay? His concern was immediately for her. Like, this is still a person whom he clearly still has feelings for, emotions for. She clearly feels the same to him. She's trying to figure out, like, what's going on? Who are you? Oh, this is the Jack I know. He's like, look, I'm going to take care of you. Are you, like, he hugs her, he kisses her, he pulls her in, and then we fast forward to the end and he hugs her and she's like, we were great. And he says, we're the greatest. And
yeah,
I'm just sitting here and if I could pull a lesson out of this, that in the face of tragedy, you have two choices. You can either move towards each other or we can move away from each other. Choose moving towards each other, because we're better together. Jeff, I'm not going to tell you that that all of a sudden we're going to see Jack reunite with his wife and this is going to be a story point going forward. I'm not going to tell you that. But there is a coming to terms. Maybe that's better. A coming to terms, not a getting over, but a coming to terms. There's a coming to terms with everything here in dealing with Jack. And you hear what does Sam say? What did Daniel say? Yeah, he doesn't really ever talk about this. He never talks about this. He doesn't let people in. He doesn't let people know. Yet he's keeping that box in his locker filled with all this, with his wedding ring, with the pictures of Charlie, with the pictures of him and Sarah and the family. Not to live there, to live here. It's a 5 chevron episode, Jeff.
Totally.
5 chevron episode.
I feel like it did a great job showing us there's a term called pendulation, right? And that's really like a pendulum where you either move away from the feeling or the situation, or you lean in and move into it. And the natural reaction a lot of us have is to back off and move away. We're not most of us don't live in a society that rewards or reinforces vulnerability and sitting in emotions. We just don't do that. Mm. But what we saw is that because they didn't do that, we saw the end of the marriage that happened between Jack and Sarah. But on the other side, we had Energy Jack, who leaned in. I'm scared of you. You might hurt me like these other people did, but I'm going to come towards you and I'm going to try and help you. And he provided real healing for both Jack and Sarah through that. So we see that, right? Whether you don't back away, come into it.
And what happened because of that? This guy that he was scared of is now his rescuer and taking him back home.
Literally everyone is in a better place because he leaned in. He walked towards what he was afraid of, what was scary. Maybe it's not to say walk towards everything you're afraid of, the people, the things that you're scared of. There's times that's not safe. You shouldn't do that. Mm-hmm. But walk into the emotion, walk into the feeling, the experience, lean into it, experience it, and it'll suck, right? I mean, dude was blowing up.
So good.
But it's better for everybody.
Jeff, I have a confession to make. This is not one of my favorite episodes of Stargate.
Yeah.
When I usually do my rewatches of Stargate, this is one of the ones that I skip. Emancipation, First Commandment, and I usually skip Cold Lazarus. It's not because I don't like Cold Lazarus. It's that I don't like Cold Lazarus. Mm-hmm. It's so emotional. Like, it's so heavy. I especially, my first experience with this show was well before I was ever a parent. So I don't have that as a point of reference. Emotional, heavy episode is not what I'm here for, to be honest with you. You know that weird thing in podcasting, though, where you go into an episode, by the time you're done with your discussion, the recording of the discussion, your opinion changes and you have a much higher respect for a show. That's me with this one.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to say that I'm going to go back and watch this episode a whole bunch of times because there's nothing feel good about this episode very much. But I do have to say, I think my respect for this episode after all these years, my 47th time, 48th time watching the show, has grown quite significantly because I had to look at it through this lens.
I'm glad you get to experience it that way. I think about over on Babylon 5, there were episodes like Confessions and Lamentations that were amazing episodes that I will never watch again.
Right.
It's not good. Right. But yeah, no, this for a show that you really had set up for me in terms of it's fun episodic thing. We'll look for the sci-fi messages, but there aren't going to be any. This was near the epitome of not only a sci-fi message, but also it was 100% show. There was no tell in this. And because they showed it, holy crud, what a journey this took us on. And so the one piece I'm going to take out of this and apply in my life outside of that leaning into it, live in the moment, be here now with the people that are here and now. That's what we have what's what we have. And that's what ultimately Energy Jack did, is he brought Jack and Sarah into the now, where they were talking about now. They weren't necessarily just talking about Charlie now. And then it brought Jack and Energy Jack together in the now to go and do the thing. That's super powerful.
And you got to imagine that SG1 as a team is going to be a little closer after this whole experience as well.
Definitely.
Because Daniel, Sam, and Tilk were all standing right there when Energy Charlie showed up and all of that happened. So, all right, Jeff. So I've already given this is a 5 chevron episode all the way through. You, my friend, though, are tasked with the unenviable spot of getting to rank this episode, to put it on our list of rankings as we're going through the season. Jeff, it is up to you. Where do you place this episode? Our current top 5, because this is where we are, is The Broken Divide, Children of the Gods, The Enemy Within, First Commandment, and then Emancipation. Where do you place this one? It's an interesting question right now to me.
It is. We've talked about this ranking really being about my enjoyment of an episode. Would I want to watch it again? Things like that. Because I'm in a place where I'm very focused on my mental health and I'm doing a lot of practices and things like that to help build that. I'm in a different place watching this than I might have been if we watched this, a couple months ago or a couple months from now. And so I did not enjoy this episode, but I love this episode. I'm going to make this our number 1 so far.
Okay.
I think you say a thing frequently that I think applies here. If you can make me feel a thing, you're doing your job.
Yeah.
This episode made me feel a lot of things.
Listen, I enjoy The Broken Divide. I enjoy Children of the Gods. Even The Enemy Within, I could kind of take it or leave it. But you're right. This is the first episode that's made me feel anything. And as an episode, as a structure, as what they're doing, it's fantastic. I still don't ever want to watch this episode again.
Agreed.
But listen, it's like a scale. It's do I want to watch it versus quality of episode? It's those two things when they combine. I think usually what I want to watch it again tends to, all the episodes quality wise tend to be fairly even.
Yeah.
So it's just which one do I want to watch again? But sometimes you get an episode like this that
just pops.
The quality of what they're doing in it is so much higher. So I get it. I guess I get it. Well, folks, that's actually going to do it for us. That's going to put a bow on Cold Lazarus. Jeff, this is another one of those episodes, man. You go into something like this, you're like, there's not really much to it. And turns out it's going to be one of our longer.
Right, here we are an hour and a half in.
Jeff, would you care to know what we're watching next time?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Next time we get together, we are going to be, I cannot wait for you to tell me what you think this episode is going to be. Here's the title, The Knox.
Can you spell that?
Nox. Yes, folks, we are watching the Nox.
There is a Nox in a box. Does the Nox wear its socks?
Good luck. Good luck with this one on it.
I have no idea. So here's what I'm going to say. This is another, so far up until this episode, we're seeing displaced humans, right? That the Gould have moved around. We saw aliens here. I think the Nox are going to be other aliens. This is going to be an alien group they run into.
So not displaced humans. You're saying another new group of aliens.
I think that's what this is going to be.
Do you want to get any more specific than just aliens? You literally just went alien of, there'll be a new alien next week. You said this is an alien of the week episode.
Okay. Let's just get stupid specific here. This is going to be I'm going to say a reptilian alien race.
Okay.
That has interacted with the Gould and humans. There's humans here as well. In fact, these reptilian aliens, the Nox, are on this planet with humans. And the question is, like, they're in this Cold War stalemate thing. SG-1 is going to come in and they're going to have to determine, are the Nox a true threat or could they be allies?
You just completely pulled that out of your rear end, my friend.
100%.
All right. Well, we will see next time here on Stargate SG-1 for the first time. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Leave us a rating and review. And please share this show with somebody that you know who loves Stargate SG-1 or who, like Jeff, is falling in love with this incredible series for the first time. So all that said, until next time, folks, we appreciate you. And
Hey, Brent.
Hey, Jeff.
Do you think I could take this out into the world? I really just don't feel like it's that safe.
For crying out loud.